another video. In this video, we'll be discovering the network scanning tools. This tutorial promises not only an introduction to these tools, but a very short hands-on demonstrations to showcase their potency in the world of cybersecurity. Talking about the network scanning, initially we have to understand what kind of network topology are we in. Network scanning allows us to map out the structure and components of a network. A simple net discover tool can help us to conduct a passive scan and fetch the connected devices. Now, as soon as we have understood the network topology, we may have to identify the host and services. Now, this scanning reveals the active host and the services they are running, which could be a potential vulnerable machine or a port where we can particularly run a certain script. Running a basic Nmap scan can identify live host of a particular network. Now let's try to have a look. So over here I have the terminal ready. I'll start with net discover. Now this runs with sudo only privileges and helps us to identify all the components connected within our network. So by identifying these devices, we can identify the target machines and map out the network topology. So I have run this command and let's see what it tries to do. It's trying to run an nmap net. So it tries to run the net discover command on a couple of IP addresses over the network I am connected to, and it's trying to identify the devices. Now as you can see, there are a couple of devices whose MAC addresses IP are listed here, and this generally points towards devices like routers and the adapters that are connected. Now if you are in a Wi-Fi network and if you run the scan over there, there is a possibility that you may be able to identify the devices that are connected to this network. Now, as soon as I have identified the devices, these devices can also be host devices, server devices, any kind of elements that are connected towards this network. And now once I have identified these devices, what I can do is get the IP of this device, run some other tool to identify at what point I can attack this device and run my potential vulnerable script over it. To move ahead, I am going to use the nmap command. Now, as soon as we have identified the devices, let's see where we can attack. If I am using an nmap command, please note this is sometimes illegal and can cause you trouble. So for illustration purposes, I'll be replacing any of these devices to a simple host which is already provided by the nmap tool site. So this host is available under the IP or the domain name scanme.nmap.org, and we'll be conducting the vulnerability assessment over this host. Let me run the nmap command. Please note this is again a sudo only command. As soon as I have started the scan, it will try to identify what all vulnerabilities are there, or you could say what all ports are open over which we can run a specific script. Around 32% is done, and it might take another half a minute to understand what all ports are available. As you can see, it has listed all the ports that are in certain state. So if you look at the port number 21 and 22, these are the two ports to a host which are currently open, and any user can come into this specific host and try to do a simple brute force attack by logging in with a certain username and password and all the specific commands and options of SSH and FTP. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of ports that are open. We can go ahead and hit any port. So say for SSH, this is like a secure shell connect to that specific machine. We can perform an SSH to this host. To understand like what host is it, we can use the NS lookup for this domain. Now this is the IP address for this specific domain. So I can go ahead and directly do a SSH to this address. In this way, we can identify what all vulnerabilities are ready to be evaluated, and then what all we can do or what all measures we can take so that we can keep these ports pretty much secure. There are cases where we may have to keep certain ports open, but we have to make sure how we can cater the data from these ports. Let's talk about the practical use cases. Network scanning plays a pivotal role in discovering devices and mapping out the web of a network. By identifying active hosts, their IP addresses, and associated MAC addresses, cybersecurity professionals gain a comprehensive understanding of the network's structure. This process is particularly vital in large-scale environments where knowing the network's topology is fundamental for effective management and security. One of the primary applications of network scanning tools is conducting vulnerability assessments. By scanning for open ports, services, and their versions, cybersecurity professionals can identify potential security vulnerabilities that malicious actors might exploit. This information is crucial for developing a robust security posture and implementing necessary patches and updates. Network scanning tools contribute significantly to intrusion detection and prevention strategies. By actively monitoring the network for unexpected and unauthorized changes, security professionals can detect potential threats before they escalate. Regular network scans, especially when automated, becomes a proactive measure in safeguarding the network against intruders. As we conclude this exploration of network scanning tools, remember that each line of code we execute is a step towards more secure digital landscape. Continuously refine your skills and explore further. Happy scanning, and may your networks be ever secure.